with you, of course, the objectives of the conference, the rationale behind the conference, who are the stakeholders that are involved, who are we targeting to be part of this conference, and of course, what is it that this conference will offer that's a bit different from some of the conferences that are taking place so far in the oil and gas sector. We've got a very short program with some short welcoming remarks from the chairperson of the Economic Association of Namibia, Mr. Jason Kasuto. That will be followed by the conference rationale and objectives by Ms. Nambula Wanja, the Chief Executive Officer and Chairperson of the Board. And then we'll have a brief Q&A session where we'll allow all three conveners. Remember, this is a conference that's convened by the Economic Association of Namibia, HSF, as well as the NRPDB. And then, of course, we'll also have NAMCOR, as a strategic partners, also being present here for the Q&A session. So those are the four that will take your questions a bit later on as well. And then closing off, we'll have the closing remarks by Dr. Clemens von Dodra from the Hans Seiler Foundation, of course, the third partner who is convening this oil and gas conference 2023. So without wasting any time, please put your hands together for the chairperson of the board of the EAN, Mr. Jason Kasuto. Drive, of course, the core driver of the conference is the Economic Association of Namibia, as this is their annual conference. Last year, of course, the focus was on green hydrogen. Hence, we had the Green Hydrogen Conference last year. I think, in fact, the same dates as last year, 16th and 17th of August as well. And this year around, the focus is on oil and gas. So this is not really, just for clarity again, not a competing conference that's being set up that will take place annually, like some of the ones that are taking place in the private sector as well. And really has a different angle of focusing from more civil society perspective, and then collaborating, of course, with NRPDB. Hans Seiler Foundation, as you are aware, has always been supporting programs that the Economic Association of Namibia has been implementing over the years. So that's what forms the three-party alliance that convened the conference. And of course, what can we do without NAMCOR's presence here? They are represented here, and they will also be part of the Q&A section from the floor if there are any questions for them a bit later on. I think the main thing also is to really understand the rationale and some of the objectives of this conference. There's plenty that has been said in the media also around oil and gas, but what are some of our focus areas and what is the narrative that we want to drive for this conference? Please welcome the CEO and chairperson of the NRPDB, the foremost academic work in as far as environmental policy and regulation is concerned, which is the textbook that fourth-year students are using at the University of Namibia as far as environmental law is concerned. So their position really, and even when the conversations are taking place on the program, etc., is to look out for the environmental sustainable aspect and the protection of the environment, particularly on the regulatory and policy framework in terms of the extractive work that they'll be doing. That's why they are part of green hydrogen, and of course also now part of the oil and gas conference as well. Owner's system. So our obligation is the moment we have signed an international treaty, we are supposed to locally enforce them. Everything that is happening in the oil and gas sector so far, and I think the good thing is also we have very strong acts and laws that deal with the issues around environmental impact. For example, Environmental Management Act of 2007 and a number of other legislative frameworks that have been put in place to make sure that the kind of damage that's unacceptable according to international standards does not happen. So in as far as that is concerned, I think we're in a safe place. And that's why when you have the likes of HSF that are also impartial to a certain respect, and as far as their work is concerned, are part and parcel of planning and organizing a conference of this nature so that we make sure that those aspects around environmental sustainability are always part of the discussion when we're talking about this. The other thing, of course, also, I think the last thing I just wanted to add is, if you look at these agreements that are being signed and the fact that we're having these sort of engagements, if you look at, for example, what Hyphen did 2 weeks ago, they launched their socio-economic development framework. We've never had in the history of agreements at that level where there are requirements in terms of socio-economic development impact, very detailed. Say, listen, you need to employ 90% Namibians, even during feasibility. 20% of those must be young people. We want to see periodic reports on this, plus local procurement as well. Telling a private company to say this is a certain amount of local procurement from the regions and from the country before it goes up internationally. So some of these things are groundbreaking in many respects in terms of how the deals have been structured. And that's the reason why we need to continue having this conversation. That's why NAMCOR is also here, because they are also part of that deal infrastructure and going forward in as far as our extractive industry is concerned. And don't forget, of course, the several well fund conversation that's going on and a number of other acts that will enable Namibians to directly benefit from the industry going forward. On that note,